trying to beat the market by investing $1,000 into a different company for each letter of the alphabet. This week, we're on the letter G. It turns out trying to beat the market is a pretty difficult thing to do, and doing it alphabetically is even harder. I think you should stick around till the end when I'm going to go over the results of what we've done so far, because they're actually pretty solid. So the way I plan to do this is to just literally go through every single company for that letter that I can find and figure out what the best one to invest in is, and then share that with you. However, it turns out that there are a lot of companies that start with any given letter of the alphabet. Now, I went into this thinking that there was already a company that I could invest in. If you notice, I am always wearing a Garmin watch, which is a publicly traded company, and I obviously like YouTube, which is owned by Google, which is obviously a publicly traded company. However, I think that I found something even better than either of those. The company that we ended up investing in for the letter G is Grainger, which is a broadline industrial supply company. You can think of them sort of like the Amazon for businesses. If you own a business, they act as a sort of one-stop shop for you to come in and put in your purchase orders for basically anything you need. They were founded in 1927 in Chicago, and they now operate in Canada, the United States, Mexico, the UK, and Japan. Before we invest in a business, we need to understand it. And to say that it's sort of like Amazon is a good start, but it's not quite reality. So let's start with the endless assortment. This is basically your regular Amazon type website where you can go on and search for pretty much anything you need. And it's largely targeted towards smaller businesses at the moment. So if you are a small business and you need like 12 work gloves, you can go on, put in a purchase order, and get that delivered. And the larger companies can use this too, but the smaller companies would not really use the high touch solutions part of the business, where that's someone that is at your local office, you have a rep, and they come, they stock your shelves if you're in your program, they point out different things that you might need, some updated equipment, anything like that. So that's a pretty good start. But if we're gonna get to the point where we understand the business well enough that we can actually put some money down, we're gonna need to go a little bit further. So there's really three big things I see going on here, and that is one, how these two halves of the business interact with each other. Two, how that interaction affects any given individual customer across that customer's lifespan. And three, how all of those individual customers come together to create Grainger. The high touch side of the business is inherently more profitable than the endless assortment side of the business. And that makes sense because you have this established relationship with a large customer that you provide a lot of value to. So you get a lot of cash flow in return for that. And the endless assortment is a lot of people that you may not have even met face to face. And there's a lot of sort of last mile delivery going on, and that's very expensive. But the good news is that it's a sort of top of funnel where you can meet these companies when they're small, when they're young, and start proving your worth to them and provide value to them through your services. And once they do that, they might grow and they might succeed. And when they do, they become large enough so that they are part of the high touch side of the business. And you have now established yourself within their business. And how can someone outcompete you with that if what you're doing is providing good service and they don't really have a reason to get rid of you? And this plays into the second point, which is the life cycle of a given business. Most businesses fail. They don't succeed, but some of them go on to be very large and very profitable. And Grainger has set it up so that they can be part of the reason for a company's success. So if a company that Grainger has as a customer is more likely to succeed than some of their competitors, then Grainger will be there when they are more profitable, and then they are also more profitable to Grainger. So that's a really beautiful thing for them to be able to do. Grainger has made it so that they can take an object like a bolt or an O-ring or something that is not very expensive in and of itself, but in a particular factory at a particular time when everything is shut down and you need this one piece of equipment or item to get it all working again, you have to think of how much money that company is losing while things are down. And that's the value that Grainger can provide by having the part already there, ready, and then getting everything back up and running. And that is huge. So the bigger that company gets, the more important that becomes. and the more value Grainger can give and also receive in profit. And the third part of this is that they do this across a lot of companies. So it's not just one customer that they're helping. It's not one customer that they rely on for income. In fact, less than 5% of their income comes from any one entity, which is great because you can diversify your portfolio across different companies, but you can also diversify your cash flow through multiple customers, which is what they're doing. The economics of this have to deal with the distribution center. And let's say I have a customer that I distribute to and they need a particular part number, like a bolt or something, and I distribute that in bulk to them, and now I'm out of stock. The chance that another customer also needs that same bolt before I'm able to put my order in to restock myself is very small. So on top of that, each new part number that I add, each new item that I keep in my warehouse is not only more valuable in and of itself because the person needs it when they order it from me, but it's also more valuable because that is now available to not just one customer, but every customer in my distribution list. An important point with this is that there's not really anything proprietary, right? There's no secret sauce. There's no patent that really locks in Grainger's competitive advantage. Competitors do exist and they can just do the same thing that Grainger's doing. But if Grainger goes out and competes hard, they do a great job for their customers day in and day out, why would they ever get replaced? Why would they ever get outcompeted? That is where the true value comes, above and beyond the book value of just what their assets and what their land and everything is worth. That is where the true value of the business comes from. Now we're going to indulge ourselves a little and look at the results so far, which are really meaningless numbers because we're not going to sell anything. We bought $1,001.15 of Grainger at $764.24 a share. But how are we doing before we did that? Because that just happened. So all the companies that we bought A through F have currently increased by 11.8%, whereas the S&P only increased by 6.5%, which means we're doing about 83% better than we would have done if we had just invested in the S&P. So if we had just put our $6,000 at an even cadence into the S&P, we would be up $387.08. The way we've done it, we are up $708.14.